There has always been an underlying feeling of jealousy and disapproval directed toward Robin from within the Brown family, and it hasn't just been from the wives. Even Cody Brown's kids have had plenty to say about their dad and the complicated inner workings of the family. Gwen Brown, daughter of Cody and Christine, has been perhaps the most vocal of them all, utilizing her YouTube channel to offer genuine summaries and critiques of the Sister Wives show. A fresh college grad, Gwen has set out to give us the facts straight, episode by episode, and fans are catching on. In her most recent revelations, Gwen revealed shocking information regarding her parents' relationship that contradicted what the audience believed they had learned. She disclosed that Christine and Cody were not in love at any time. Christine seemed committed for years, trotting behind Cody like a faithful mate, but now Gwen says it was due to habit and expectation rather than real love. Christine eventually hit her limit and left, whereas Cody lashed out at blame and confusion. In an interview with Teen Vogue, Gwen spoke about her childhood and the indicators that the relationship between her parents was dysfunctional. She shared about how they fought and thought, even as a kid herself, that her parents ought to divorce. "What kid thinks that?" she said. That alone is an indication of how deeply the emotional gap had set in within the family. Cody's fatherhood was also irregular, as he split his time between 4 households. The mothers bore the bulk of the child-rearing responsibility, and Gwen explained that this became her norm until she got older and began questioning it. "I'm getting more and more resentful of it," she explained. "Now I feel like this doesn't have to be my normal." Gwen was always honest. She has been open and honest with viewers on her YouTube channel, posting reactions to old episodes and revealing what actually occurred behind the scenes. Her commentary was some of the toughest, particularly concerning Cody. She frequently commented on how she wished her dad had been more involved in her life. One of the more hurtful discoveries was Cody's tendency to treat his sons better than his daughters. Gwen discussed how Cody was much closer to Gabe, her brother, even though they were born only 4 days apart. Even with that proximity in age, she said Cody made no actual attempt to get close to her. Gwen has also noted that her father did not marry Christine out of love, but out of her religious background. Christine was from a highly regarded line of Mormon descent, and Gwen feels that this had a lot to do with Cody deciding to marry her. She went as far as to refer to Cody as a coward for continuing to stand by Mary even after their relationship had ended, implying he was too scared to make tough decisions. With age, Gwen has become wiser and learned to establish clear boundaries. She no longer fears to speak her mind, and she's determined that her past will not dictate what the future holds. While all seems clear now, she hasn't entirely closed the door on going back to Sister Wives. She remembered how ecstatic she was when the show premiered in 2010, stating that the overnight exposure to fame and fortune dramatically altered the family dynamic. "We got thrust into fame and thrust into money," she explained, "and I lost wanting and wanting things." Today, Gwen is making it easier for fans to see the true story, what went on after the cameras went home and the script ran out. Her candor is reframing the public's opinion about the Brown family, showing us the emotional toll behind the drama we've all been following for years. A hunger-free life makes life simpler for a child. In the early years, the Browns' fortunes were improving. The family eventually relocated to Las Vegas, where they purchased 4 houses right next to one another. For Gwen, it was the pinnacle of the family's experience. But as often happens in reality TV tales, there was a secret downside. Behind the scenes, it was discovered that only the parents were paid by the network, even though most of the show's plot revolved around the kids. It didn't seem right to her, she said. "I'm not certain that they thought that the parents were supposed to pay us or what, but we never were paid," she confessed. Christine Brown ultimately took matters into her own hands. Determined to be fair, she decided to pay her 6 children a little bit for every full or half day they were on camera. Nonetheless, Gwen stated that over the years, she and her siblings never made enough to cover the time and effort they contributed to the show. More recently, Sister Wives has turned dark. The most recent episodes mirrored the tragic aftermath of Garrison Brown's sudden death. His death, which was determined to be a suicide, hit the whole family, particularly Cody and Janelle Brown, hard. In 2024, they buried their son in Wyoming. There has been so much grief, and fans have watched the family attempt to deal with it in their own ways. In spite of it all, one thing comes through loud and clear: the huge affection they all shared for Garrison. Cody, usually shown to be aloof or emotionally unavailable, was devastated by the loss. He confessed to having anxiety attacks and being totally overcome with grief. "When it gets to me, I can't run from it," he revealed in a moment of vulnerability. "If I sob or cry, it may subside more quickly. But when the wave breaks, there's no holding it back." Garrison was only 25. Cody thought about their troubled relationship with great remorse. They had not been in touch prior to Garrison's death, and Cody wonders now if things might have been different if he'd reacted earlier. "Sometimes it overwhelms me out of the blue," he said. "It feels like an anxiety attack, a strong, overpowering sense that I'll never see him again. So many things went unsaid. So much was left unfinished, and I'll never stop thinking about what might have been." The rest of the Brown family is mourning in their own way as well. Janelle regularly remembers her son in small ways on social media, posting memories about his life. As an extended tribute to Garrison's affection for animals, fans of the show have even donated to an animal sanctuary in his honor. Cody Brown has been a divisive presence in his own family and to the public for many years. But few of his children have been as forthcoming about their childhood experience living with him as has Gwen. On her social media platforms, she has provided a raw and unvarnished glimpse of the emotional fault lines within the family. What had seemed to be a quirky but nurturing home life has, through the passage of time, been exposed as an environment of unresolved tension and profound dysfunction. Her viewpoint provides emotional insight and backstage facts that cameras never entirely caught. Her voice is highly personal, occasionally blunt, yet always newly honest. She is never hesitant to have her say, particularly when criticizing her father's faults. One of her strongest criticisms has been his obvious favoritism and emotional distance throughout her life. She's explained over the years how her dad appeared to pay particular attention to his sons, but frequently ignore or push his daughters aside. A vivid example was her and a brother who were practically the same age. Even though they were close in age, they had very different experiences with their father. He favored her brother, forming a close relationship with him, but more or less excluded her. This favoritism pattern wasn't restricted to parenting, but spilled over into his marriages as well. She has clearly indicated that her father's choices of relationships were driven by social status and family background, rather than by love or emotional bonding. She wondered if prestige and appearances were more important to him than true partnership. She has also spoken out about what she sees as years of dishonesty, condemning her father's cowardice in stringing out one of his former wives long after the passion had gone. Being willing to expose these painful realities has brought the emotional double standards involved in their family relationships into focus, and has made clear how deeply everyone involved was affected by what he did. As she has grown older, she has started establishing personal boundaries to safeguard her mental health. She has been firm about the type of relationship, or lack thereof, she desires with her dad in the future. Her emotional specificity is not an attempt to cope, it's an attempt to take back her own story in a narrative so frequently scripted for her. As the family's reality show initially started, she was really thrilled. She and her siblings were residing in a serene suburb in Utah, when overnight they were catapulted into the limelight. The sudden economic affluence brought about by the show at first felt like a blessing. After years of insecurity, having their needs met regularly was such a welcome relief. The show lifted the family out of poverty, enabling them to maintain their peculiar lifestyle. Later on, the family moved to Nevada and purchased multiple homes in close proximity. For her, the move was one of the highlights of their otherwise chaotic family life, a period of unusual stability. But much like with many reality programs, there was more to the program than what viewers knew. The children, who were the focal point of most of the show's storylines, were never compensated for their appearances. Although the parents were compensated, the children were excluded completely. It was a lopsided deal that left her, and most certainly her siblings, feeling taken advantage of. A mother stood up and tried to make the situation right by paying her children for appearing on camera in the form of cash. Year after year, however, those tokens of remuneration hardly reached equivalent to the exposure and emotional work that children went through. The gap between payment and exposure left an unforgettable sense of hurt and despair. The emotional price of adolescence in such an unusual and broadcast and family has persisted. Healing has involved confrontation with painful realities and moving beyond the scripted image the world saw on television. For this girl, honesty has been a powerful act of self-assertion. Her honesty is not simply courageous, it's crucial. In letting her truth be known, she's not only healing, but altering her own destiny, not letting the failures of yesterday define her. Rather than simply existing in the shade of a shattered legacy, she is standing out in the light of self-awareness. She's no longer the background character in someone else's story, she's the writer of her own. Unlike the overly edited portrayals often seen on television, she has chosen to present her story in all its imperfections, complexity, and raw emotions. Through her unflinching introspection, she sheds light on the psychological price of fractured relationships and parental disregard, most particularly in homes with multiple buildings and unequal expressions of love. Her testimony offers so much more than news backstage. It is an eyewitness account of the emotional weight which children carry when love is not mutually shared. This is not just a soap on reality TV, it's a human drama of love, heartache, transformation, and survival. Behind the consciously scripted melodrama is a family attempting to find meaning in their pain. And behind much of that pain looms the family patriarch. Although he is the man at the center of the public drama, he's also been a primary source of internal conflict, distance, and disillusionment. Through her candid voice, this daughter has become a required window through. One of the saddest aspects of this tragedy is the understanding that time was lost before wounds could be mended. The father acknowledged that his relationship with his son had cooled in the last few years. Now, confronted with the finality of death, he is tormented by all those things that were left unspoken. The burden of what could have been is overwhelming. He frequently finds himself questioning whether things might have been different. If only he had extended himself further, heard more attentively, or just been there more. Sometimes, out of the blue, this tidal wave of crushing regret washes over me, he explained. It's as if an attack of anxiety takes over my entire body. The terror that I'll never lay eyes on my son again, it freezes me solid. All the things we left unsaid, all the moments we never got, all the futures we lost, they haunt me. His mourning is compounded by the emotional estrangement that had been building up between them way ahead of the tragedy. Now, no second chance for redemption. What is left is the unbearable weight of guilt and grief, something no parent should ever be made to bear. Meanwhile, the family grieves. They each deal with the loss differently. There is no one way to grieve, and theirs isn't any different. His mother, who has always been a woman of quiet strength but deep devotion to her children, has opted to mourn out in the open. On social media, she posts poignant memories, pictures and glimpses of the young man behind the news, honoring not only his life but his spirit. Her tweets are more than a personal reaction. They've turned into a means for supporters and followers to mourn with her. In a poignant gesture of shared memory, fans have come together to celebrate the young man's affection for animals, donating money to shelters in his name. It is a demonstration of how his generosity went far beyond his loved ones, affecting so many lives. This tragedy has also shone a much-needed light on mental health, issues that so many people struggle with in silence. The family's open and vulnerable grieving process reminds us how important it is to talk about depression, anxiety, and suicide. These aren't just private struggles, they're public health crises, and they deserve empathy, awareness, and open conversation. Thanks for watching. If this moved you, please subscribe for additional updates and deeper insights into true stories behind the news. Until then, stay safe and look out for one another.